My name's Iain Lawson and I'll be voting yes on the 18th of September. The first time I really became solidly behind independence was in 1986. At the time, I was the chairman of the Conservative Parliamentary Candidates Association in Scotland, and I was fighting to try and keep Ravenscraig open. Initially, I wasn't alone in the Conservative Party wanting to do that. There were 4 or 5 Tory MPs that wanted to save Scottish Steel. But one by one they were bought off or threatened by the Conservative Whip's office in London, and they gave up. I didn't give up, and on the 3rd of January 1986 I set off with 9 others to walk to London and on the Gartcosh March to try and save the Scottish steel industry. Margaret Thatcher knew we were coming. When we got to London, she wouldn't meet us. The reason? She was having tea with Ian Botham, the English cricketer. That pretty much summed up for me Scotland's importance as far as Westminster was concerned. You see, Ravenscraig was just a pawn in the Tory plans. They wanted to privatise lots of different industries, and steel was just one of the first. But it was important for the Tories that the privatisation went off successfully. So they came up with a plan, and the plan was to reduce steel making capacity in Britain to a low level, where pretty much everything that they made was guaranteed to be sold, and therefore a very attractive proposition to private investors. So thousands and thousands of steel workers in Scotland lost their jobs. Ironically, at the time when Scotland was probably the biggest consumer of steel, because out there in the North Sea, pipelines were being laid to take all our oil wealth, not into Scotland, but south to land it in Teesside, where Teesside would get all the downstream plastic jobs rather than Scotland. The lesson I learned was that the whips at Westminster were more capable of putting pressure on Scottish MPs than the people of Scotland were. That's not a democratic system. That's not something we can live with. And ever since that day, I've been working to try and make sure that we get an independent country. Now I know folk find it very confusing with all the various statistics that are being thrown about, admittedly by both sides. But let's bring it down to basics. Which system of government? Because that's what we're voting for. We're not voting for parties, we're voting for a system. Which system do you think would be most successful for Scotland? A parliament in Holyrood where Scottish priorities are always top of the agenda, where the only people voting are Scottish MPs elected by the people of Scotland? Or Westminster, in the system where we currently have, where in the House of Commons we have less than 10% of the votes, where in the House of Commons Scottish issues and Scottish priorities are rarely mentioned. And if that wasn't bad enough, we've got on top of that over 800 members of the House of Lords, people who we never elected, not a single person in Scotland cast a vote for. But these people are running our country at the moment, and that's just not right. Earlier this week, before I recorded this, Baroness Trumpington called Alex Salmond a madman. I'll tell you what's mad. What's mad is staying in a system where in the House of Commons we have fewer than 10% of the votes, and in the House of Lords we have over 800 unelected peers. None of us voted for, and yet they make the decision about my family, about your family, about our children, about what future they're going to have in the future. We know we can do better. We're not claiming to be better than any other nation on earth. We're claiming to be as capable. What we need to do on the 18th of September is not just go and vote ourselves. We need to find a friend or a couple of friends who currently are either undecided or no voters, and we need to convert them and tell them the truth about the best way forward for Scotland, because that truth is undoubtedly a yes vote.